Greetings and welcome to another edition of Pedal Shift Project. The Pedal Shift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments on bicycle travel adventures. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride, let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshifted.net/391, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedal Shift out on all the socials as well. Hello everybody and welcome to the 391st edition of the Pedal Shift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. On this episode, we ride from my cabin to Cumberland, Maryland on the C&amp towpath to see if we can squeeze 75 miles out of my e-bike battery. With only one real opportunity to top it off in Hancock, this is a real test with fairly unfun consequences if I run out of juice. Did I make it? Or did I have to pedal the last bit without that little extra boost? Quick programming note before we kick this mega-sized episode off. This episode is a beast. It's over an hour. I'm going to do the takeaways next episode, next week. So feel free to listen to this one in chunks. Like I said, it's over an hour. Combine that with next week's shorter episode, and all will kind of even out. Hope you enjoy. Good evening. Afternoon, we'll call it. From the cabin. I am largely prepared, well-ish. I haven't really gotten all the things pulled together, and largely because I'm just not bringing a lot with me. I'm treating kind of the ride, as I mentioned in the prep episode last time. It's been two phases. So the first is a short ride down to Hancock where I'll be picking up some food, and then it's of course the longer ride from Hancock all the way to Cumberland. And so what is it? It's 20 some odd miles and then about another 55, give or take, before I get to the hotel. And so I'm not stressing out too much because I don't think I'll have very many needs until I hit Hancock. And then of course I've got a whole town to give me whatever it is that I need there, water, food, etc. So I think that what I'm going to do is I might have a bite to eat here in the morning, bring down a bottle of water, and then maybe either buy water or get water in the city park there while I end up doing a little top-off charge. Today, I did a full 100% top-off charge on the battery. It was, as you may recall, somewhere around 50% or maybe even a little bit less, which is what I stored it from the last big trip. A little thing about battery management, you really don't want to always go to 100% on your battery. I mean, you can, obviously people frequently do, but if you want to extend the life of it, you don't want to bring it up to 100% super often, or at least as minimally as often. You want to keep it between 20 and 80% for everyday stuff. So if this was like an everyday commuter or something, I would probably keep the battery in those ranges and probably wouldn't have as big of a battery either. But for a ride like this, clearly I'm going up to 100. It took a while for it to get to 100. And it's interesting, I think that just like any other battery, batteries tend to charge more quickly between 20 and 80, and they take much longer to charge between 0 and 20, and then between 80 and 100%. By the way, I'm talking percentages here if that weren't so obvious. So that's why I think it took a lot longer. Tomorrow, I'm going to be nowhere near getting it down to 80%. It's going to be much more like 95, I would think, at that point. But plugging it in for an hour will probably get me, slowly get me some additional range, as I talked about before. And so during that time, I'm going to be, of course, doing a couple of errands. I don't think I feel confident enough to leave the battery unattended charging across the street, so I think I will bring the bike with me. Oh, that reminds me, I'm not sure if I have a lock. That might make things more challenging because I do not trust this bike. I don't trust any bike, any place really, to be left alone. So I'll have to double check and see if I have any kind of a lock. So if I don't, I believe C&amp Bicycles is available. They might have a lock, an overpriced one. I mean, they're charging a regular thing, overpriced from my perspective, because I have plenty of locks. They just might not be with me. In any event, the big ticket thing for tonight is just grabbing a couple of clothes, throwing them in panniers, making sure I've got the water bottles I want. Oh, I should mention, I also added on the additional hand position bars, aero bars for lack of a better way of putting it, even though they're bar end bars. And I like them. I think that this might be, depending on how the comfort situation goes, this might be what I end up with. We'll see. I keep finding that those curved Jones loops, I think that I like my hand positions to be more in line with my shoulders rather than wide. And that's maybe why I was finding trouble with this particular set of handlebars. This isn't going to solve that, but at least will give me some additional hand positions. It's funny, I'm so used to the butterfly bars that it makes sense that I would want to stick with something like that, but I do think I want the regular style of handlebar flats for this particular bike. So it'll be a constant experiment. Of course, that's another piece of what this ride is all about. In any event, so I've got that all put on. Oh, I just swapped saddles. I put on a saddle that was on the Goblin. So the Goblin has donated its saddle to the e-bike. So I think that's going to perhaps make for a more comfortable ride. Maybe, I don't know, another experiment perhaps. Changing saddles is finicky. I don't do it very often, and well, it was finicky. I think that's about it. Most of the leaves are down. I know you're sitting here in the middle of winter as you listen to this, but here in the fall, we just lost all our leaves. Perfectly dry day. The rain that was originally forecast did not come. The forecast was altered yesterday as I'm sitting here recording, and the suggestion was that it would fizzle out, and it did. So we are well over a month with no rain in this region, which is bananas, but should make for excellent riding tomorrow. Things have cooled off a little bit too. We are no longer in the 70s and 80s Fahrenheit. We're going to be very firmly between the 40s and the 60s tomorrow, which is going to be just delightful riding weather, if a little chilly. So the nice thing is that it's cooling down enough for a fire tonight, which I'm excited in our fireplace. So I think that's about it for night before. Oh, one other thing, you may have noticed that sound quality is a little different. I have invested in a brand new lavalier mic system that works with my phone. I think that combined with the dead cat that I have on this lav should, asterisk, maybe, dagger, double dagger, I don't know, should make for better audio quality. I have been very frustrated, as many of you may have been as well, with the wind noise that comes in so many of these tour journals. I have tried so many different things, and now I've invested in a mic system that allegedly, maybe, asterisk, may help. We will see. We'll find out. You'll know before me. Well, you'll know after me. Anyways, that's it for tonight. Much more to come tomorrow as we roll out of here, and we will definitely be testing the dead cat on this microphone as we roll downhill through the valley to River Road, our old friend River Road, to get across the river, across the Potomac, and the start of part 1 of this journey. Good morning from near the cabin. I am rolling out on a chilly but very beautiful morning, and we are working our way to, as mentioned before, Hancock, Maryland. It is a touch after 9 o'clock a.m., so a little bit later than I would have liked. I have about 8 hours of sun today. We are testing the wind capabilities of this mic as I go downhill. It'll be interesting to see if that is helpful at all, because boy, I'd like it if that would work out. There we go. I am going to stick in pedal assist 1 to start. Again, name of the game here is to try to conserve some battery. Now I've changed my mind, and as I've got a car behind me, it is a weekday workday, so I do expect some people to be out looking to get to work, which is fine. Shouldn't be a problem. These are definitely back roads here, so I'm not too concerned. Let's see, a couple of things of note to start. I am carrying more than I thought, just because I've got, things to charge besides the battery. I've got water to carry, clothes. I'm about, in both panniers, I'm about half full, I'd say. Not too bad. And I think that I probably have more warm gear than I'll probably need. Just already, this is probably the coldest part of the ride, I would imagine, just because I'm not very warmed up at this point. And it's about as cold as it's going to be for the remainder of the day. I did bring an extra battery for phone and microphones and stuff like that. So we'll see if I need to use that. It's really more for the end of the evening here. Weather, as I mentioned, chilly, sunny, but in that good kind of way. Not the sun is deactivating me kind of way, which I'm grateful for. And a lot of leaves are down, although as mentioned before, it's been so dry. There's no wet leaves, no nothing. New saddle is going to take some getting used to. I'm not sure if I've got it angled right. I feel like it might need to be flattened out a little bit. We'll just ride and see how it feels. The horns on the end here are already excellent. I really like rotating my wrists so that the thumbs are pointing up. That's a very comfortable ride style for me. So I think that this was an excellent addition, and it's a fun thing to note that when you stop using something, and I stopped using these I haven't had flat handlebars on a non-Brompton in well over 10 years, but I held on to them. That was probably a good idea. That's $20 worth of savings just for throwing something in a bin that ended up having utility later. I had a very minimal amount of handlebar wrap, but just enough. So that's all good. I think I have exhausted my list of things to mention. I haven't had anything to eat this morning. I did have a coffee. I have a protein bar, which should be plenty for this part of the ride. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good so far. Have made good time here getting out basically all the way to Highway 9, which I'm on very briefly, and I'll probably utilize a little more battery to get up that hill just to get off of Highway 9 as quickly as I can. These are all things that we did the last time. Yeah, I think given the conditions, I'm not sure if I could have gotten a better day here in early mid-November. It certainly could have been colder. It certainly could have been raining. I'll often do the C&O around this time of year as my last one of the year type of thing. So this is, again, known commodity, and it can be really variable. So it's really nice that it's not doing that right now. All right. I am about to end up on Highway 9 in a few minutes. So we'll just wrap things up here and go for a check-in later. From River Road. I'm not tracking my miles, so I'm more than halfway to Hancock, and I've got a spot here right by the tracks that's got a little turnout that allows all the cars to go by. had a close call, not for me, but a dog came out, not the barking at me or anything like that, but to say hi. It was a black lab, and there was a car right behind me, and luckily the car was slowing down in anticipation of passing me, and was able to miss that dog. But that would have ruined my day and my week, and maybe a lot more than that. So I'm grateful that the dog got out of the way and that everybody was traveling at a reasonable speed considering. But for Christ's sake, folks, leash up your dogs if you live on a road like this. My God. Interestingly, I'm seeing a sign for a bike lane on the other side of the rail tracks, and I am not aware of this. There's a part of me that wants to go check it out, but I also I don't believe it, and I also don't know how far it goes, and it may just be like an out and back thing, which I do not want. So I think I'm just going to stick with the river road here. This is my first stop, so I'm going to hydrate and have a bite of my protein bar. I'm feeling good a little bit. I'm not using as much battery, so I think I'm using more of my personal energy than I did last time, which is fine and good, and I should do that. But I am definitely feeling like I put in more effort so far, and that's good because I would like to, as we are all know, would like to conserve energy. Uh, Not my energy, the battery energy. So as I chew on a protein bar I'm going to talk to, that's something to monitor. Also, why I'm having this. So yeah, feeling good. Bike's performing well. Weather's nice. I'm still wearing one outer layer on top of a long sleeve wool layer. And I think I'm a little warmer than I should be. I'm sweating a little bit underneath this. So taking this break and cooling off a touch is not such a bad thing. But yeah, I'm reasonably close to Hancock. I should do a time check here. It's just shy of 10 o'clock right now. So if past this prologue, I probably am about halfway or a little bit more, and maybe 10:30, give or take, to get there. And that's great because, again, I've got from that point, what do we got? About 50 some odd miles. And is it 50? No, it's 60 miles roughly from there to get to Cumberland. So at 10 miles per hour, that's 6 hours. That's tight, but I'm not going to be going 10 miles per hour. I'm hopefully going to be going 15. So good. We're in good shape. And of course, I'm going to take breaks and stuff too. Hancock, I'm going to plan on about maybe an hour. I really want to get, I'm now starting to feel the pressure of sunset, but the reality is I've got lights. It's not that big of a deal if it's close to sunset is at 5, but of course there's twilight as well. And, with lights, I should be fine. I've even got the built-in one here for this bike, plus my headlamp. I'm totally fine. So I don't think I want to press too much, but I also don't want to dawdle. I would like to get into town at a reasonable hour because it closes really early, even on a Friday. I'd love to be able to get a dinner and all that other good stuff. So I hear Highway 70, I-70, which means we must be pretty close. And I know we're close. So that's that. All right. Disaster averted. Poor doggy. I'm glad he's good. Or she. I couldn't tell. And that's fine too. Yeah. Next up, Hancock. From Hancock, Maryland. And I am charging. I started at 54.9, and then when I plugged in, it immediately went up to 55.4, and it's now at 55.5 volts. Again, this is a measurement of battery capacity at this point. This should go up a little bit more. I did not burn a lot, but I figure this is a good opportunity to just top off a little bit while I have a little bit of a break. And I eat, and I enjoy life here at the park. This has a name to it, and I always forget it, but it's the park in Hancock where I was before. I bought stuff for lunch in case I don't want to end up in Pawpaw. Nothing really spectacular, to be honest. And I did get a Red Bull. I'm getting back on the Red Bull wagon, if only to give myself a little bit of extra sugar to start my day. I wonder if I should save this, though. There is a good argument to save this, because I may desire a little boost later. There are two places, well, there's more than two places. There are three places that I can stop at between here and Cumberland. There is Bill's Place, which should be open by the time I get to it. I rarely stop there, and it's not very far from here, so I don't think that there's a lot of reason to do it. It's a bar. They do have limited food. I'm not even sure. I haven't been there in so long. I'm not even sure what their deal is these days. So that's an unlikely one. The next one would be quite a ways down. No, not quite a ways down, just about the halfway point of the ride, the rest of the ride here, the part 2 of the ride, and that's going to be in Paw Paw. There is a gas station that has food and beverages and whatnot. It's not that far off. I think I may, depending on how things are going and depending on what my battery level is looking like, I may consider going there, if only to scout out public plugs. That might be something that would be of interest, particularly if my battery consumption ends up being higher than I think. I think that there's a reasonable chance that I can, particularly with this top off here, that I can get all the way back to Cumberland in one battery. It's more vibes and feels than it is actual science on this one, but that's my hypothesis, at least, just based on what I've seen so far. It's very flat, as you all know, on the C&O, and it just shouldn't be all that much compared to some of the hills that I do. Also, I don't intend to go really any higher than pedal assist 2, as I keep saying over and over again to you. Maybe I'll go to 3. It depends on the speed and depends on how long I end up staying here. I should give you a time check. It is, if I haven't already, it's 10:36 right now. I was originally going to charge for an hour. I'm not sure if I even need or want to do that. I will top off water. I drank 1/4 liter, and I've got an entire big bottle, a big Nalgene bottle in there. So I'm carrying just shy of a full. Actually, I should check that. And I should also camel up and do all those other things. I feel like I am, as usual, stream of consciousness with you all. I'm just checking to see my water here. Okay, there's my Nalgene. This is actually a full liter that I have. So I have a full liter here, and then I have a Camelback bottle that I'm going to estimate as a half liter. So 1.5 liters of water on a cool day, I think I should be okay. I'm realizing now I didn't bring a whole variety of things, which is very silly of me. I will mock myself later if that ever comes to pass. I feel like even naming the things that I've forgotten will open me up to the possibility of needing them and not having them. So we'll talk about that maybe later, so as not to jinx things. Let's see. So yes, I think I'm going to focus on drinking water here, and I will save my Red Bull for that little boost that I may or may not need later. I don't want to drink it too late, quite frankly, because it's got all that caffeine in it, and I have really, this is a bit of a tangent, I've really reduced the amount of caffeine that I drink. I am down to basically a 1 and occasionally 2 cup of coffee a day person, which if you followed, if you know anything about me following this pod, just like normal glancing at what I consume, that is weird. It's a factor for, the reason why is it's irrelevant, but it's interesting. So I don't know if caffeine will impact me more. So normally if I drank caffeine after, say, 3 in the afternoon, I usually have trouble sleeping, and I would prefer not to have trouble sleeping tonight. Let's see, what else is going on? Got myself a breakfast sandwich here. I'm not super hungry, but I should eat, which of course makes a great idea. And yeah, I feel really good about things so far. So we're roughly 20 miles into the day, and 20 miles into the day of a 75-mile day, that's pretty good. So I'm feeling good about things. I am noticing, okay, my screen turned off. My battery did turn off, but it does seem like that the battery is still charging, no problem. The indicator is showing, let me see down below here. I think that, thinking back to the last time I was here checking the on-battery indicator, I think that it shows one red light when it is charging, regardless of its charge state. I'm looking at the battery indicator on the screen, that kind of graphic indicator, and it is showing graphically a full battery, and is showing 55.9 volts as the voltage indicator, and I'm not sure it can go up that much more. The charge controller will shut off the charging when it has maxed out. So we are definitely in top off mode here. I am noticing headwinds, so I suspect that at different times of the day I may be steering in and out of headwinds, which is fine. I'm not too concerned about it. The temperature is warmed up nicely. I feel comfortable in the layers that I have, which means I'll probably be too warm when I'm cycling in this, but again, with the e-assist, the pedal assist, who the heck knows? So yeah, I'm noticing also over here that they put in some electric vehicle chargers, EV chargers, and there's somebody over there who's charging their vehicle over here. We are near kind of the confluence of I-70 and I-68 as it goes further west to Cumberland. I'll be seeing I-68 again later, of course, in Cumberland, as it has its interchange right in the center of town, which is bad urban planning if you follow certain YouTube channels. But in any event, I'm taken at the fact that we are all juicing up our vehicles here, although mine is for free. All right, I don't think I have much more. I think I am going to use the Western Maryland Rail Trail for I would say it's like 11 miles back on the C&O, and then I think it's another couple of miles that basically takes you to Bill's place. So I'm going to be mostly on paved for a little bit here, which may allow for a slightly faster ride. So yeah, it's beautiful out. There still are some maples with golden leaves, and then there's some other trees, I don't know what kind they are, with small red leaves here in the tail end of our foliage season here, and even some ivy that's on some trees that it looks like English ivy that's still green. So we're getting some really beautiful colors here in Hancock. Didn't expect that. Thought that it might just be a lot of brown at this stage, but it's actually quite nice. So to squeeze out a little extra fall here seems nice. I've had a really charmed fall in terms of my riding and my bicycle adventures. This is going back months for you, but of course we had the eBike shakedown, which was the beginning of fall, and then we also had the North Dakota adventure, the No-Dak adventure, which is releasing now as I am sitting here in Hancock, but you've listened to it all. That was fun, that was wild, and now this. So yeah, a lot of great fall adventures on the bike that are making up for the fact that I didn't bike a ton in the summer just because the heat was just didn't care for it, other than of course the 10-year anniversary trip. So reflecting a bit here where I am at the end of 2024, talking to you in early 2025. How is the future? Are there flying cars? Do we have jetpacks? I was promised jetpacks. Do I use that joke every time? All right, we are moving, I think. Battery is showing 56.7 volts. A fully charged battery is about 58.2 according to ChatGPT. I am going to be utilizing the up ramp here, and I may even just use a little, should I use throttle? No. Name of the game right now is, well, now there's a truck coming, as you can probably doubtlessly hear, backing up on the Western Maryland Rail Trail. So they must be doing some kind of maintenance, perhaps? That's suboptimal. Well, let's see here. We're going to utilize throttle. Oh, that's really handy. I have not used my throttle more than a handful of times, but rather than push my bike up, I just use the throttle. Well, that was absolutely fantastic. Now, am I? Well, it's hard to tell if I'm supposed to be on here or not. I figure if I'm not supposed to be, they would have roped off that access point. So, I think we're just going to go for it. Pedal Assist 1, we were right before 11:10 a.m. We've got just under 6 hours of sunlight left. In fact, I'm just going to sit here for a bit and talk to you rather than ride and run into this vehicle. Doubtlessly, they are doing something down there. I guess we'll just figure it out. In any event, just under 6 hours. I should make this, assuming that I'm going an average of 15 miles per hour, I really should be doing this in a very faster than I've ever done it. I'll be honest. I have never averaged probably even 10 miles per hour on this section of the trail. So we're just going to have to see. Battery is somewhere in the 90 to 95% range, if ChatGPT is to be believed, based on the math of the 56.7 now 6 volts that I'm carrying in this. I feel pretty confident that this is going to get me most of the way, if not all the way, but that's what this trip is all about. It's beautiful out. The sun is out, but in a good way. Literally not a cloud in the sky. Foliage looks beautiful. You know that smell of fall? It's in full effect right now. Feeling pretty good about things. And it's a beautiful day to do this. All right. I am going to see if I can continue on the Western Maryland Rail Trail and get around that vehicle moving backwards. What a weird setup it is. I guess we'll just have to see what it's all about. Worst case, I may have to turn around, but we'll see. All right, more to come. Well, that was interesting. I remember how I said, hey, it'd be pretty neat if they would put a closure notice at my access point. Well, they didn't, and they are repaving the Western Maryland Rail Trail, and I am on some of the freshest asphalt you will ever find. I had to go around where they had literally just put some down, but holy smokes, this has been needed for a while. The root protrusion here on the Western Maryland Rail Trail was really bad in parts, and in this area in particular where I'm riding right now. So it is just so nice to be able to be on it. I mean, unfortunately, I'm probably breathing in enough carcinogens to knock me out an extra year or two, but hey, it's ride smooth. Let's see here. So that took me way more time. To give you a little sense, I was behind an asphalt dump truck that was going about maybe 5 miles per hour. So slower than I could even go with no assist. So that was less than what I wanted, but only for maybe a couple of miles at most. I don't think it really set me back all that much. Unsure whether the microphone is canceling out the headwind right now. It looks like it is, which is good. Going by a dairy farm, I suspect. I mean, it's cows. So this is a really picturesque part. The only real open part of the trail in this area, we start getting into heavily treed up parts soon. In fact, well, now. And then, of course, that extends to when we're on the towpath again. I'm at pedal assist level 2, going 15 miles per hour up a bit of a grade. The Western Maryland Rail Trail, I'll say, going this direction is predominantly uphill for a good chunk of it. And that's fine, but it is, you get the smoother ride, extra smooth right now, but you're definitely working for it a little bit as you rise above the valley a bit, because we're a bit, not far from the river, but we're further from the river than the towpath is. And of course, the towpath stays at river grade most of the ride. I am just about to leave cell phone signal for a bit, and we'll be in that space largely until Pawpaw. Pawpaw has developed a bit of a signal in recent years for those of us on AT&T. Really nice view of the river right now. Really nice. Yeah, I think ultimately I would have been better served had I gone on the towpath. But interestingly, I would have figured out the whole thing then. There was a sign with a QR code about the Western Maryland Rail Trail closures. I suspect that they're trying to pave this before winter really sets in while we've got a stretch of good weather. I'm curious if this is paved all the way to Pierre or beyond that even. Oh, well, yes. Well, we just had we're in an older repaved section, although it's still new, just not as new as what I had before. There was a section up here with a rock fall, and I'm sure that they addressed that too as part of this. Yeah, a lot of people are like big fans of this path as an alternative to the towpath, and I think that they are going to be doubly so now. that the new surface has gone down. It is butter smooth, no roots. And that was really I found that to be a bit of a tooth rattler over time. And it's just so much nice. It's really nice right now. Yeah, with the pedal assist, this goes pretty easy, as one would expect. Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether it makes sense to stay in pedal assist 2 or 1. I think that I'll stay in 2 just to make up for some speed. I'm doing about 17 miles per hour right now, which I think is fine given the conditions. I think I may be 2 over at the moment, but there's literally nobody else here on the trail. Friday morning. I guess it's still morning technically. So I don't expect to really see anybody. Not a holiday weekend, so I think I may have the trail mostly to myself for the next 50 miles or so, which would be great. And then, yeah, it's a race for the sunset a little bit, but I think with my e-assist, I think I like my odds. I like my odds, unless I burn through my battery too fast and slow way down towards the end. So I guess we'll see. Yeah, this is all part of the sort of, okay, what's the right strategy here for the battery? I'm using anywhere between 165 and 220 watts as I'm going along here. How you doing? And I am going up a grade, a very slight grade, or maybe a couple hundred feet maybe, or 100 feet maybe above the river level right now. This is a nice time of year to go because, of course, the weather's still nice and warm, the conditions are great, but with the leaves down, you really can see much further. You can see how the river carves into this valley, and I think that's pretty great. So yeah, I wish that I had a better way to map the energy use here, but I think if I stay consistent with things, that'll inform me about battery use on a trail like this. I did forget about the grade changes here on this part of the Western Maryland Rail Trail, and that obviously will use some more energy. I'm also hitting that headwind pretty straight on right at the moment. If you look at a map, I didn't mean to do that, I meant to downshift. If you look at a map, the river really winds its way around. I mean, you feel like you're going straight, but the reality is you are just winding in all sorts of directions. The only direction that you're not really going is straight east, I think, at any given point, but that's probably not even true. There's probably some point when if you're going the other direction, you certainly are facing straight east. So yeah, you're all over the map. The sun's all in different parts of the sky as you go along. I'm going probably I'm going a little northwest at this moment, but yeah. Well, in any event, I think I will continue the ride here and check in a little bit later, perhaps when we're back on the towpath. From close to the terminus here of the Western Maryland Rail Trail, this was the old parking lot here. I believe this is Pierre, or close to Pierre, Maryland. There is not a lot of there in Pierre. Hey, that rhymed. There's a little bit of an extension further down. We go back onto the towpath, and then we have another short section that takes us basically to Little Orleans and Bill's place. It's interesting. So this is the most miles that I've put on in one shot with minimal brakes. My quads are really feeling it. And I think one thing that I may be doing is I may be pressing into the pedals a little more than I need to. I think I may be amping up the gearing. So I'm putting in the same amount of effort. Now, of course, I'm going faster, which is, I suppose, a good thing. And I'm contributing a lot to the speed that I'm doing. But that kind of is not the point, is it? So I am at about, let's see here, I think mile marker Let me double check. I had that in my head and now I've forgotten because here we are. Let's see, I'm at mile marker 136. I basically have a little under 50 miles to go. I've got 48 miles to go. So quite a bit. I got a lot to go. Battery is hanging in there very well. It's still showing as 100%. I don't think it does a very good job at percentage rankings. So I am keeping a closer eye on the voltage as it just ticks down slowly over time here. Obviously, I've got a lot of riding to do. I'm going to stick in, as I mentioned before, level 2 for the next 20 or so miles, because that will get me to paw. We'll assess time then. We'll assess all sorts of things then, and adjust accordingly as necessary. I will say, if I end up at the end of the day having to pedal with no assist, I will slow down substantially, and that, of course, that makes sense. But yeah, I think I'll be feeling it towards the end of the day. The whole thing about twice the speed at half the effort, it's hard to assess at this point. It's a little after, let's see what time we got here. It's 12:15. I've been going at it since for about 3 hours. To be all the way out here in 3 hours with a break, I'm certainly making some pretty substantial speed. I started tracking with the ride with GPS, starting it just outside of Hancock. Of course, I was slowed down by that truck, that paving truck, but I certainly have benefited from it. The paving is just tremendous. They've done such a nice job here. Big shout outs to the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, because I think they're the ones that run the show here. I will note for the record, something was a complete surprise to me. You can tell I've been out of touch with the trail and both trails here. But there are trail closures in effect that started July 8th of this year. I had no idea. It tells you how often I've been out here. To January 7th of 2025. So that, I believe that's a Tuesday if memory serves, which is a weird day to call it, but okay, there we are. That means that they're going to be doing trail work all fall and well into the winter, which is fantastic. They're going to be getting close to Hancock. Probably, certainly, I would think by January. And I don't know how fast they're going, but let's see. They've done at least 10 miles of this trail since July. Well, so maybe they're not exactly doing it in really speedy ways, but I would imagine that they'll be to Hancock by January 7th, and then maybe in the spring they'll end up doing the section that is Hancock on, I'll call it east. So that's great. So this whole trail will be done by, it looks like, they say May 13th is the last day of closures. So certainly by Memorial Day 2025, when the trail really starts to pick up its use. So that's great. So if you were thinking of doing a C&O ride, I cannot recommend more the deviation here on the Western Maryland Rail Trail. It'll feel real good, particularly if you're coming from Cumberland. Yeah, it is a bit of an uphill slog, and uphill is such I almost resist in saying uphill, but there is an uphill grade as you go from the direction that I came from. Things will level out for me quite a bit as I get back onto the towpath, of course. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I may do some saddle adjustment. My sits bones are right on the saddle, but I'm reminding myself that I am now in a more upright position. The Goblin, this was an incredibly comfortable saddle on the Goblin. It's very stiff. But it obviously has padding. It does fit me quite well. I've used it for a while. I've been very happy with it. It is the WTB Speed V. It is a stock saddle on many bikes. I have been just fine with it. In the upright position, I'm finding it's not as comfortable. So I may be rethinking saddles for this bike. I may switch back to the saddle that came with it. It had a softer profile, for lack of a better way of putting it. So maybe that'll help. I need to do some more research on upright saddles. Just looking at it, I think that it's angled right. I think I'm just getting used to upright riding again. I will say I do a lot of miles upright with a Brooks saddle on my Brompton, and I certainly will be doing that in Florida in a few months. Oh, did I just make a mistake and tell you where I'm going? Well, you guys knew that. You just don't know how and where. You got to wait for that. Actually, very soon, if memory serves, you'll be hearing about that. But in any event, I do a lot of more upright style with that, and that has been comfortable for me. So that's another possibility, is investing in another Brooks saddle. Of course, I'll have to break that in too. So Lots of considerations when it comes to saddles. All right, I am not going to dawdle too much. Again, I want to take breaks where they make sense. This one makes a lot of sense. It feels good to shake out some of the, what do you call it? What's the acid? The lactic acid in my muscles. And I think I'll do a little more of a stretch before I get back on the bike. And then, yeah, we'll pound out some more miles. I think I'd like to make it so that my next break is in Paw, because it's the next logical one. Go through the, excuse me. I'll start that again. I'm going to look to take my next break in Paw, which is 20-ish miles, so a better part, probably an hour and a half or so of riding at the speeds I'm going. And yeah, it'll be interesting because when I go into the tunnel, I have a photostatic thing that will turn on my front lamp, so that will give me the ability to see a little bit better. I don't tend to ride except when I do, so we'll see. We'll see if there's anybody in the tunnel. If there's nobody in the tunnel, I think it's more likely that I would consider riding. The wider tires, I think, would be helpful in that endeavor, and that's certainly what I got. Speaking of tires, it's a good time to take a quick look at them. I have nothing bad to say about them. They are Schwalbe's. They are standing up quite well to the, we're closing in on maybe 100 miles of use on them. I can check in on my odometer. I have not reset the odometer at all. Some of those miles, very few, maybe 5 of them, were on the older tires or the tires that came with the bike, the stock tires. But yeah, no, this has been, everything has gone quite well so far. Brakes seem fine. The drivetrain seems fine. I really have no complaints here with any of this at this point. Oh, one thing I should mention that I haven't yet, the battery has rotated a little bit. It's tilted now a little bit off of center. And it's not creating any problems, but that's something that I think that I need to address. I would really like it to be rock solid in the center, and I don't know why it's doing that, but I probably have the tools to address it. I will keep an eye on it. It hasn't shifted at all. I added a Velcro strap to it, so I know it's not going to be torquing anymore on that, and that of course would be the bigger issue. If it broke off, that would be somewhat disastrous, although I think I could probably make do with some bungees in that strap, and I think I have another strap as well that would make do should that disastrous thing happen, which we don't want to have happen. All right, okay, I think that I have yacked enough about all sorts of different things. I am feeling a little bit more refreshed with this break. I am dehydrated. I need to hydrate more. I've restoked my water bottle that is accessible to me. I've got, of course, an Nalgene and tapped into that. I should have plenty of water for this trip, and I do have multiple more stops. I think I cut myself short last time talking about my next stop opportunities. There's Bill's Place, not too far up ahead. After that, there is Paw, which I'm leaning towards taking a look at as a possible stop, especially to assess battery situation and maybe grab a little something else. I've got more food. I'm not hungry at all. I'm forcing food down, so I don't really need it for that, but it might be worth stopping there for maybe either a Gatorade or something else. I'm glad I've got I'm strongly considering hitting that Red Bull, by the way, just to give that little burst of juice at some point. After Paw, there is Old Town, the schoolhouse kitchen, which it's not my favorite. It's just not my favorite stop, but it might be if the juice is running low on my battery, I may make an exception and stop there. I don't know how awesome they would be about me pulling in a charger and a battery, but if I buy one of their burgers, maybe they would be happy with that, or a piece of pie or whatever else that they've got. That is the last shot before Cumberland, and that's maybe 20 or so miles out, give or take. Oh, interesting. A couple of people with some e-bikes doing their thing. That's cool. Their batteries are about my size, maybe a touch smaller. I have the 20 amp hour, and they have what look like 15s. So, okay, I am going to pack up and get going now. Shaking things out, getting in a good stretch, hydrating up, and then let's get to Paw. From Paw. On the far side of the tunnel. Tunnel went slow but fine. I am ready for a little bit of a break, although I have to say I'm averaging slower than I expected, so it's a little tighter than I would have liked. But I am moving. I mean, it is remarkable. Here I am. What the heck time is it? It's 2:30. I've got 2.5 hours of sunlight left. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I have 2.5 hours till sunset, probably closer to 3 hours of actual light, which is probably enough, but I'm not going to be able to have real robust brakes. The battery, forgive me as I eat, right? Maybe I should not eat and talk. The battery seems to be holding up really well. I may have way over half, quite a bit more than half. And so I'm not going to go to Pawpaw. I'm not going to go to Old Town. I think I've got enough battery to get me through. So much so is my confidence. I have pushed up to pedal assist 3 at times just to get that average speed up a little bit closer to the 15 miles per hour that I would really like. And also give myself a little bit of a break as I cycle. I'm learning how to ride throughout all of this as well, because the riding, the coasting feels different. The cadence of everything feels different. So I've been wanting to just keep spinning into it constantly, not taking breaks, which of course is the opposite of what you would think an e-assist would give you. But it's just how the e-assist kind of kicks in. It's hard to explain, but in any event, I'm learning to give myself a little bit more break, and that's been good. I also took a couple of Advil because I was really starting to feel some unusual fatigue in my legs. And I'm glad I did. That really made a big difference. I've been eating a little bit. I'm now having my Red Bull, as you probably heard. So I think this is a good time to get that little bit of a boost as I get into the back half of this. I'm more than halfway. I believe, I should have somewhere in the 29, 28 miles left to go out of 75. So that means that I've done nearly 50 miles today. So considering that, that's pretty good. I feel great considering that. So not sure if I got a ton more to say. It's been beautiful out. The sun is still out. I'm going to have it in my face a lot, I think, as I go along here. But of course, as mentioned earlier, the weaving in and out as this river does, I'll be going north and south as much as I am going west in some ways. Actually, I'll be going north as much as west for sure. So, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. There's been a few people out, said hello to some people. Just a beautiful day to be out. I mean, I really lucked out on the weather here. All right, that's all I've got. I will definitely check in as we get closer to the end here, maybe taking a couple of water breaks at campgrounds along the way. Of course, we've got Potomac Forks up ahead. We've got Evans Creek and a few others. And yeah, just pushing ahead to get to my hotel destination in hopefully the next, we'll say 3 hours. I think that's pretty reasonable. I would like to do it not much later than that. But again, I've got lights, so I'm not gonna stress about it. I'm not gonna push. I'm gonna do this in a comfortable way. But I think the initial take, and I said in the preview episode, this is where I was gonna make an assessment. I have to say that the range on this battery, especially at pedal assist 1 and 2, is really robust. So I am pretty stoked about that and what that means for some of the type of riding that I would want to do. I think for mileage distances that I am typically used to doing, that kind of 60 to 75 miles, this battery alone may be enough, with maybe a little top off here and there at meal breaks. For longer ones, that's going to be the open question. And then I'm going to have to do a ride one of these days where I really do that extra kind of long ride in a place where it's easy for me to bail off as I get lower. But I would love to know on flats, what the ultimate range of this thing is. And we'll have more information, of course, in the next 30 miles or so. Okay, more to come. Town Creek hiker-biker campsite. This is a wake-up call for me. Right after I said, hey, battery range is excellent, got plenty of battery, I realized I misread the voltage pretty badly. And I was probably somewhere in the 40% battery range at that point, which I don't know where my battery management system, my BMS, at what point it will turn my battery off. Got somebody coming, so I'm going to get off trail here. So I don't know if that is really a nominal 20% that I have, or a usable 20%. So we're just going to have to see how that goes. I have stopped doing pedal assist 3. I was doing pedal assist 1 and going, I'm not feeling a lot here. And I ran into something interesting with that. Hi there, how are you? Say again?
Having a good ride?
Oh, it's a beautiful day, huh?
Not going to get many more of these.
No, I feel like I took this day off weeks ago just to sneak it in, and absolutely amazing.
It's beautiful.
And the trail, I mean, we need the rain, but I know we haven't had rain in a month, so yeah, conditions have been great.
Yeah, the trail's dusty. Just covers your gear with dust.
Yeah, definitely.
Clean your chain up virtually every day you ride here right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you just riding here local?
No, I started off in Hedgesville, West Virginia.
Okay.
Road rid across the Potomac into Hancock. Okay. And then I hopped on the Western Maryland Rail Trail. I didn't realize they were repaving that. That's beautiful now.
Yeah, now they got all those root humps out of it. It's nice.
Yeah, I would ride the towpath instead because there was a point where the roots were just so bad.
Right.
But yeah, it's real nice what they've done. So yeah, and then popped on the towpath and I'm here. So should make it to Cumberland by sunset, I think. So
you've made good time.
It's an e-bike, so I can average right at the speed limit. So yeah, with a lot less effort. So 75 total miles, but it'll feel a lot less.
That's pretty good. You got 2 batteries?
Just one. I think I'll just about make it. Yeah.
I can't quite trust this one to go that far on one battery.
Yeah.
I can trust it to get me 50 plus, but when you're carrying gear and a heavy person, it's more taxing to it.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, this is a 20 amp hour battery, so this is actually a range test. I wanted to see if I could do it. So,
nice.
But I am in pedal assist 1 or 2 for the rest of this. I'm not messing around. We'll see.
Yeah, I to stay under the speed limit on here at 15 mile an hour, I got to stay in the low range on electric. If I hit even the second one, it's automatically going to be pushing me 19.
Yeah, and that's too fast. Speed limit or no speed limit, it's too fast for the trail. Yeah.
I mean, there's places where it would be fine, like here, but it's so rough and so leaf covered in that part that you came through today. At 20 mile an hour, you can have a pretty good spill.
Oh yeah. No, 15's plenty, and it's just nice to just not have to put 15 miles worth of effort into it. Right. So
for 10 mile an hour effort, you get a 15 mile an hour output. That's good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you going till sundown, or what's your?
I'm gonna hit Paw Paw and back to Old Town.
Gotcha.
Before the sun goes down, if I can keep her moving.
Gotcha. Is that where you live?
No.
That's where
I
you
actually am more back toward Hagerstown.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I drove out about 2 miles. I'm riding the whole trail this month, just because like twice a year I like to just cover every mile. But most of my riding is Williamsport, Shepherdstown, that region.
Sure. Do you all get shifts, or do you just come out and you do your thing?
It's wide open to do it when you feel like it.
That's very cool.
Yeah, if you get into the volunteering with the National Park on bike patrol, 40 hours a year, anytime, any place.
Oh, wow.
It's extremely flexible.
That's really interesting, yeah. Because I split time between DC and West Virginia, and so, that might be something I might consider next year.
Like down at Great Falls, last season I worked at the Visitor Center at Great Falls and worked with the mules down there that used to pull the boat. That had shifts, and I had to say when I was coming and cover and so forth. There's no worry about that on the trail. There's probably only 40 or 50 bike patrol people on the whole 180 miles, and on any given day I might ride 50 miles and never meet one.
Sure. Oh yeah. Especially out this direction, I imagine. Yeah.
Out here there's probably from Hancock west there might be a dozen people.
Gotcha.
Much more density Great Falls into the city.
Gotcha. Hey, quick question. If you can't answer this, I'd understand.
Sure.
Now that the water's not potable, are there still caches of fresh water that you all have, or no? They're not.
No, not really. Are you running out of water today?
No, I'm good. Okay? I'm good. I was just curious because I ran into another volunteer 3 years ago or something like that. He was pretty adamant that the Park Service would keep the water because he was like, people run into problems, but then said that there were cases.
The only place you're going to possibly get like bottled water from the Park Service will be at the visitor centers at Williamsport or Cumberland. At Williamsport, I know they keep some in the break room there for the employees and interns, and they're pretty generous about giving them out if somebody needs them.
He was suggesting that on trail hidden there were caches, which surprised me, but
Well, I've been doing this for a while, and I have never heard that spoken of. So
Gotcha.
I'm thinking no.
Yeah, it seemed. I was surprised, but yeah. So.
Not by the Park Service anyway.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true. Could have been.
When you were on that rail trail, there's a couple of residents who live on the rail trail who set up a cooler beside the road and say $1, take one, but they want money.
I purchased a bottle of water from those folks before. Yeah, you bet.
But I don't know the park doing it.
Yeah.
Unless they're having a special day. There was a Ride the Park day last month, and they were giving out water bottles and free bicycle rides and all kinds of things. Yeah. But that's not a daily thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so you said Hedgesville? So you're down there where you got the paved trail to Charlestown too.
Yeah, that's further. That's more towards Martinsburg. So I'm further down. I'm about halfway between Martinsburg and Berkeley Springs.
Yeah.
So I can get from where I'm at, I can do back roads, cut off all of Highway 9 and get to 522 and then just hop over the bridge and then I'm in Hancock. So and that's about 20 road miles, give or take, from where I'm at. So
nice twisty roads too.
Well, until you get to River Road, and then it's a pretty straight shot. But, you know, it's 55 mile per hour roads, and I've had a couple of guys roll coal on me before, so.
I don't relish riding on roads that are heavily trafficked at any time.
Yeah, there's a decent shoulder, so I mean, I'm used to riding on roads, but yeah, I avoid the ones that aren't very friendly, so.
Yeah. Looks like they rigged that bike up with almost the exact same fork as this one. How old's that bike?
This is almost literally brand new.
Well, same with this one.
I got this.
I think those are almost the same form.
I think so.
If not the same.
This is, I couldn't believe it. This is a Walmart bike.
Yeah.
And people have made fun of Walmart bikes forever, but I was looking on real deal mountain biking forums and they were like, oh, no, this is a decent bike. It's got good components. And so that I wanted to do a conversion. And so I got that and did a few swap outs of stuff, but a lot of the stuff is the original components, fork included. So
all the electric stuff you had to add on.
All the electrics, all me. Batteries, all me. Tires are upgrades. Rack is an upgrade.
Yeah.
What else am I missing? There's something else big that I changed on this, but pedals.
So what's just the conversion kit, motor and battery?
It's just this guy that it slides right in.
The cost of the
I would say with the battery, it was probably about $700.
Yeah, batteries cost a lot.
The battery was the most expensive part of it, and everything else. I feel like it was like, I think it was somewhere in that range. But yeah, the battery was the most expensive part, and and it's just like all little things, new grips and.
Yeah, that's the first thing I did. New seat, new grip.
Yeah. Yeah.
They never give you good ones to start with.
Yeah, and I think I may do something more like what you've got, because I built this more as an upright ride, and I'm used to being on a touring bike where I'm a little, this is a touring saddle, so I need to do something about that. But
yeah, if you're riding these rougher trails, it's nice to have a little cush.
Yeah, well, and having the suspension on this, I've never had a suspension on any bikes. I've ridden this trail a million times.
Me either.
It feels
this one.
Nice to have.
But anything you can get.
Yeah.
As you're headed to Cumberland today, have you been up there recently?
The spring, and it was pretty gnarly. So
get ready.
Yeah.
The good trail is going to end at mile 173 and a half.
Right.
And that last 11, 12 miles is going to beat the shit out.
Oh, yeah, because all the tire ruts from the mud, and
ruts,
it's all dry now.
There are hip hops. Yeah. There's hedge balls like you already came across in the middle of the road down where you just came from. Yeah. Because I was riding down there a couple days ago, too.
Yeah.
But, it slows you down a lot. 10 mile an hour is fast enough on that section. You get to the last 3 miles into Cumberland, then it's real nice again.
Yeah.
But you got a 10-mile gap there that is just rough as a call.
Yeah.
Single track, ruts.
Oh, yeah.
Thank goodness it hadn't rained for a while.
Yeah.
Because the next time it rains, that's going
to be a mud bath. Yeah, no, I agree. That's what it was like in the spring when I was out here and did that section, and I got through it. The night before the rain, I did 20 miles because I took the train out. I did 20 miles. Did I get all the way to Potomac Forks? I got out to Potomac Forks, so I got through most of it. But yeah, it was pretty rough.
They have repaved all this summer, and it stops at
173.
Spring Gap Campground, which
Gotcha.
is in between 73, 74.
Yeah.
So you're golden until then.
Great.
Yeah, this spoils you here.
Oh, absolutely. They've had this out Shepherdstown way for a while, so yeah.
Yeah, this and that part down in Shepherdstown are the best two sections on the whole trail right now.
Yeah.
I just rode down into Georgetown for the first time ever last month. I just never wanted to fool with messing with the city, but I went in there and went all the way in. That was fun, but again, rougher than snot that last 8 miles or something.
I hate that part of the trail. That's where I live down that direction, and yeah, those first, it's about 8-10 miles. Really, until you get past, gotta get past the boathouse, which is, right about there.
Yeah, they just don't seem like they're, I mean, that last 3 miles, you can jump off onto the paved part there,
Yeah.
but
up until then. The problem is, I shouldn't say a problem. It's like that's a commuting route. And so if they ever shut it down for even a day, people would be in a rut. So, yeah.
And the Park Service tells me they keep some of those sections rough to slow people down.
I believe that.
It's not that they couldn't fix it.
I believe that.
They're trying to slow people down.
Yeah, there's a lot of racers that think it's their personal playground, I see sometimes. So, yeah. That makes sense.
There aren't that many people up here at Cumberland. Why don't you just fix this?
Yeah. I hope that's next on their list. That'd be great.
It would be nice, because I've lived around here for over 25 years and I have never seen that part look good. Not once.
I've been riding this trail since 2009, and yeah, it's always been bad. It's always been bad.
This is a treat. I mean, usually this was rough too, but I'm so glad it's not, because this is one of my favorite sections. It's so peaceful out here.
Yeah. Well, this is like my home trail, so anytime somebody criticizes, I'm like, no, it's awesome. You gotta love it.
Yeah. Well, if you had a hankering to be an official volunteer, they'd take you, I'm sure. Usually it's in October every year. Sometimes they run one in the spring, a training for a new group of bike people, but other than putting in the 40 hours of helping whoever might need help on the trail or doing general odds and ends, they just have us all do first aid training and CPR.
That's great.
You could help with the medical situation if you needed to. And you're not required to, but they still like to train people just in case. Yeah. But yeah, it's like 3 hours of training and 2-hour test bike ride, and you're on your own. Yeah. It's quick and dirty.
That sounds good. Well, I'll look into it. That's awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I think I'm going to try to beat the sun myself.
We both got to keep moving.
I was going to say,
We're going to make our time here. It's
exactly.
Cutting it close. I'm going to be dropping it into second here on the way back. I have a feeling to try to beat the sun.
Yeah, I may run out of juice. I may not have that choice, so I got to get going. So, all right, man. Take care. It's good. Nice to meet you.
You bet.
Well, that was delayed. Obviously let's see, there we go. Now I'm on pedal assist too. One of the volunteers, the trail riders. Yeah, good info. All right, we are past Old Town. Passing Old Town, I should say. Unfortunately, I lost my dead cat as I was taking it out of my pocket, which was very dumb to me. And I think I've also lost another component to this particular microphone, which also feels very dumb to me, which is annoying. But, you know, it is what it is. I believe that when I left you, you know what? One of the components I can peel. It attached to another magnetic part. So hopefully this wind won't be too bad. I do have another dead cat that I can use on this for. Oh, there it is. Aha. Real-time follow-up. Now this will probably make a gigantic racket when I put it on as I do this live. All right. Okay. So, now that all components of my microphones have been found, I believe I was interrupted in the conversation with the trail ranger guy, or volunteer. I don't think they're called trail rangers. I don't know if they used to be, but I had that in my head. But I think that I was saying that I had discovered that my level 1 pedal assist was not giving me any assist because I was pedaling fast enough for it to not give me any wattage. So at that point, I know that if I run out of juice, I can ride 8 miles per hour, it seems, without any e-assist. So I may as well go up to level 2 and get my 14, 15 miles per hour. And that's what I've been doing here. I'm down to 48.9 volts. And I can't, like I said, don't know at what point this thing's going to kick out on me. The battery management system will certainly protect the battery from going too low. And that may be, I may have a lot more juice than I think that I had. But in any event, I don't really want to go much faster than this. I think maybe I would. A good section of trail around the resurface portion right there. 4 miles or so. And then we get into the 10 miles of trail that are the most loathed, I would say, by folks that ride on the C&amp. And for a decent reason. It can be pretty bad. I'm not sure if the wind is as bad as it sounds like. Wind, I should mention that. The headwinds are really strong right now. There's a red flag coming here in western Maryland and in the eastern Panhandle, West Virginia. And there's like burn ban. That has absolutely created some real serious issues. Is that me? Not sure. That might have been me. I've been finding that my brakes have been creating some issues here and there. And that's fine. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else is going on here. Not much. We're basically at the point where being able to go 15 miles per hour is great. But I think that my ability to maintain that is going to be lessened by, A, the range of this battery, which may or may not allow for it all the way back. The headwinds are certainly competing with me. I'm going to really be interested in hearing whether or not the dead cat is helping with that at all. And what else is... Oh, I'm running out of sunlight, which I think I'm just going to accept. I can pull out my a little bit later. I mean, substantially later. It's 4:04. I will have sun for about an hour. And it actually seems like I might have more than that. Certainly will have light longer than that. So it is what it is. I certainly have ridden this trail in darker times, meaning well after sunset before. That's for sure. Okay. Back into the teeth of this wind. I'm glad I've got some e-assist for this because it is robust. Very robust. And yeah, open question. Can I make it? Will the range hold? We shall see. From Irons Mountain Hiker-Biker Campsite, we are under 10 miles, about 20 minutes till sunset. My battery indicator just went to yellow, so I think that's probably a good sign that I've got enough battery to get back. It is interesting being here at this end of the range. I assume that when it goes red, it's saying, hey, I'm going to shut this down reasonably soon, so we'll keep an eye on it. But 47.9 volts, I don't feel like looking up what my percentage is. I'm sure it's probably in the 20% range. But yeah, things are moving, and I'm hoping to get to the hotel with a reasonable amount of light left. Starting to, I have good energy. I think that Red Bull was well timed, but yeah, 75 miles is a lot even with an e-assist. So half the effort. Do I feel like it's half? I probably feel like I put in more than half the effort on this, but yeah, so far so good. So yes, let me give you the precise mileage where we're at right now. Of course, it's 184.5 and we are at 175.4. So we are 9 miles. 9 miles. All right, cool. We'll check in on the edge of Cumberland. From Cumberland, Maryland, and the glorious Ramada. It's not an awesome hotel, but it will do. Normally I'm camping in town but decided against it. To say that I came in on the equivalent of battery fumes is a bit of an understatement? Understatement, yes. The battery did not kick out on me. That I will say. I am going to assume that there is a battery management system that will stop things if it gets too low. At least I'm hoping, because it's not good to run your battery too low. I got it down to about 40 volts, which strikes me as very low. And the indicator on the screen that I have was like red in like just one line. So in the fine tradition of me driving a vehicle until it's on literal fumes before I go, maybe it's time to get gas. I did the same with this battery. Not something that you really typically want to do, but considering I was so close, I was like, well, I'm gonna go for it, so I don't have to ride without any juice. I made a couple of errors, I would say, in terms of battery management, and that was basically just any time I decided to go to assist level 3, it would double the wattage and didn't appreciably give me much more power or speed. I shouldn't say that. It certainly gave me more power. It did not give me more speed. And so I think that based on my very limited experience on the C&O, this one and the shakedown, I would say we're looking at assist level 2 is the sweet spot. And I assume that would be the case in just about any reasonably flat trail. Now, of course, on the C&O, there's some grade here and there in different spots. It does rise and fall a little bit, especially the Western Maryland Rail Trail portions. But for the most part, it's reasonably flat. So I think that's good. Bike held up very well. It's very dusty, the very dry conditions. I'm going to need to give this a very good rinse down, and then I'll want to relube the chain. But I would say that the bike handled it incredibly well. The only complaints I've got is I'm still learning on the disc brakes. They're both like giving me that squeak when I turn. So clearly there's some alignment issues and stuff like that I'm going to need to learn more about. And Mysterious James has had disc brakes forever, and he's like still puzzled by them. So I know it's hard because he knows his stuff and is befuddled by it. Saddle, I mean, it wasn't comfortable, but I will say I didn't get saddle sores or anything like that. I think this is not the right choice. I don't know what the right choice is. I'm going to work on that. A Brooks saddle is obviously a pricey way to go, but I don't know if I necessarily need that. I also don't want anything else on this bike to scream steal me. So I'll think about that some more. Of course, I could always, when I store it, when I have it any place, I can take the saddle with me, but that's a bit of a drag. So here in the hotel, checked in no problem, but they are very bike friendly. There's two main hotels here. The other one is a little bit closer to the trail and is a little bit nicer. Both of them have good reputations for folks with bikes. I didn't even bother asking, and the guy saw my bike. He so much saw my bike, he didn't bother asking for the make and model of my vehicle. So there you go. Yeah, it gave me a second floor room, and there was no question, no whatever. Didn't even make a reference to the bike. So that's great. So if you are coming into town and do want to do hotels, these two hotels are bike friendly. I am probably dehydrated. I definitely need to get some liquid in me. I am not super hungry right now, but I probably could stand to get some food in me. I never really ate a proper lunch. That sandwich I got, never touched it. So that's probably going to go in the fridge here. That might be my breakfast tomorrow before my train. So yeah, I'm still adjusting to some stuff with eating and all that. Everything's fine. It's just that's just where I'm at right now. Yeah, so I think I'm thinking maybe a beer or something like that. So I think I'm going to go out in the town. It looks at Krabby Pig, but I feel like that's just way too much for me. I may even just go to the Martins and go buy a couple things. Do I have a microwave in here? I have a microwave in here. I could just buy a microwave meal or something like that, because I'm just not super hungry, and that sounds about the right amount of food. Does that sound like a glamorous type of post eBike victory meal? Maybe not. I don't know. But here we'll go back to the studio and do some proper takeaways on this for this probably extra long episode. But I feel really good about this bike. I think I need to dial in some comfort I need to get into some better biking shape. But that's been the theme of this year, of course, but it's going to happen, trust me. But I just did 75 miles, and the e-bike very much was helpful for making that happen. You think about the 20 amp hours of energy. Now, of course, it didn't go 1-to-1 in terms of the wattage that it created, but I mean, it absolutely helped me to be able to do this and not feel like I wanted to die here at the end. Also, oh, by the way, I did it in a little over 4 hours of cycling time. That's pretty great. And now that, of course, was from Hancock, so that's 50 miles there. So that's speedy. That's much faster than I could do on an acoustic bike. So, well, I mean, I suppose if I was being chased, I could probably do that. But the e-assist definitely did that. So half the effort, twice the speed, definitely was not twice the speed. Speed limits, of course, were part of that. Definitely was more than half the effort. But I definitely am intrigued with the use of this for big tours. What I would love to be able to do as I sit here right now is to not have to think about range anxiety with this. Now, this experiment very much gives me a solid range. I can do on 100% charge about 75 miles, give or take. Now, I did top it off a little bit. Let's say that added 5 miles. So let's say that I can do about 70 miles, give or take, on one charge. And when I say a charge, I mean a full charge, with some hills, very minimal hills overall. So that's pretty amazing. Is that my goal? No. But what that does say is if I get a second battery, I easily can do 100 miles. If I get another one of these batteries, now we're starting to really get into some interesting places in terms of what's capable. I don't think that I would want to do 140 miles at pedal assist 2. That's maybe not good enough. Maybe I'd want to do 120 miles at pedal assist 3 or 4, depending on how things go. Who knows? So playing around with this a little bit more is interesting. Also, of course, the terrain makes a big difference. I think a second battery would allow me to do longer days with real deal climbs that are more prevalent or more up and downs. So many more things to come after I get out of biking brain and get back into the studio and pull some things together. But hey, this was fun. This was really cool. I'm tired, but this was fun. I can now call this a full success because it seems that not only does this work, but it works in the range that I wanted as my minimum, but then it surpasses that. And it's feeling pretty good to me at this moment. I just have to dial in some other things. That's pretty exciting. And folks, thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next week for Takeaways. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedal Shift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedal Shift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.